Great call. Two play fake. Polo will put it up. Throws over the middle. Touchdown. Great flag.
That's away. Trying to center off to Eckerly, and he just missed the net. O'Reilly with the shot. Far down. He scored.
From behind for a month. Now with the lead, they're getting a little wobbly. Philadelphia, they won't get him. Wow. Edwards pulls off and buries the flag. Shot for Derby!
What is up, my Pitchfork Lunch peeps? Welcome in to this wonderful Monday show. I am Michael Caracino at Diablo00 on X, the artist formerly known as the Twitter. Yes, you guys know this. I know you know this. But that being said, what a phenomenal day we have, and we're gonna get going right away. We're just going to get going right away because, guys, look, it is absolutely awesome. Again, phenomenal weekend. Obviously, softball was in Ames, and again, they did drop their first Big 12 series, or second Big 12 series, I should say, but showed crazy mass explosion there. And it was again, it was they put up 18 runs in the second game of the doubleheader on Friday. So we'll get to that. Baseball obviously took on Utah, had a good weekend. Women's golf, though, guys, the 2025 ASU Ping Invitational champs by 13 strokes, and this is their lowest score. Lowest score to win the ASU Ping, and their second lowest score winning a tournament. Thanks to Connor for that. Obviously, always hooking me up with great info. But anyway, yes, we're going to get to all that. We're going to hear from Patience Rose and Isla McDonald O'Brien, as she was the freshman of the tournament, and all 5 players in the top 10. They win it by 13 strokes. Patience Rose finished second by 1 stroke. I mean, again, just phenomenal. So shout out to Missy Farquet and the women's golf team, as Patience Rose and Beth Coulter, by the way, are going to be headed to Augusta. Again, the women's out at Augusta and their masters, so they're going to get to partake in all the events, and we'll hear from them very, very shortly. Also, guys, but yes, I am Michael Caratino at Diablo00 on X, the artist formerly known as the Twitter. So yes, you can see show live there every day, Monday through Friday, 12 to 1. Also, my IG, michael.carasnudo.5. Yes, I know. You guys, you're up to speed on that. The YouTube channel, again, we're going to hear from, like I said, a lot today. But anytime you miss anything, you can go to, well, you can watch live on YouTube, so go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. But you can watch live on YouTube. So it's at you see my name, Michael Caratino, but it's at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in yes. So at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Champ 005, at MVC005 on Twitter, and subscribe, because again, you will have missed a ton. I'm just telling you, you have missed a ton. So you can most definitely go back again, binge watch season 1, still watch season 2, catch up, and then you'll be all caught up, hopefully by the end of season 2. But again, such awesomeness today, as like I said, we're going to hear from Sun Devil women's water polo coach Petra Pardi. They had a tough game against San Jose State. They just fell short on Saturday. It was 13-12. But she will join us. We'll also hear from Sun Devil defensive coordinator Brian Ward. Yes, he is kind enough to give me some time, but that the whole JUCO connection, my friends, you guys know. You guys know this. So yes, it was again awesome weekend, and also I want to say that the obviously men's swimming, they competed in the swimming championships, and they ended up finishing 6th. And I'm probably going to hit more of that tomorrow, but I did watch a ton of highlights, because a lot of you know I was out of golf. I did watch a ton of highlights, and yeah, so we'll get to that tomorrow. But sixth place, 248 total points. Again, a hell of a showing for this the men's team up in Federal Way, Washington. But yeah, just ended on Saturday. It went from Wednesday to Saturday. So yeah, I mean, very, very obviously stoked for this team or what swim has done. I mean, the last few years, but what they've built on, and to have Coach Herbie Baimon after they won the Big 12. It was so awesome of him, another alum coach, to join us here. So yes, very, 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 very stoked. But yes, we will have Coach Pardi on. She will be coming on in a little bit, very shortly, as they fell to number 18 San Jose State 13-12. And again, it was just a few little things, but man, tough way. They got two more matches, I should say, but they're both on the road in California. They head up to Berkeley this Saturday to take on Cal. Yes, an MPSF foe, as is USC still. And they take on USC April 12th at 1 p.m. So yes, that is what they have coming up. And then there's the MPSF championships, which are back in LA, the 25th through the 27th. And we'll know more about that, but still playing for, I mean, again, the schedule has been insane water polo wise, 17-6 overall, 1-3 in conference, 9-3 at home, 0-2 away, 8-1 neutral sites. So coach definitely has them rocking. But yes, we are going to step aside when we get back. It's so lucky she's joining us again. Last year was an Olympic year, and the excitement, people were watching swimming and everything, and water polo, which again, I always wish I could have played, but as much as I like physical play, I don't want to get beat up that much. So we'll step aside and we will talk to Coach Pardi right after this, but we will have more Pitchfork Lunch coming right up.
KSRN has the inside track on all things sports, with topics and opinions from former players and local personalities. Catch 15-year NFL veteran Ed Smith and Jay Adams on Easy Sports Talk every Saturday.
Unfortunately, with this back and these knees, I don't quite have that ability, or at least I use.
For all things Arizona Cardinals, tune in Monday nights with Casual E and Sean McConnell.
Bird Gang, I know it was another tough loss, but keep encouraged. We miss you, BA.
And now you can exclusively listen to former Arizona Cardinal Jeremy Bridges on his show, JB and Benny Blue Review.
Exactly.
Don't be dumb.
Sending the message out to the world.
Always laying that message. Don't be dumb.
Yes, your guy, Benny Blue, comedian extraordinaire.
Exclusively on KSRN, Casual Sports Radio Network.
You are listening to the best internet radio station on the web, KSRN, Arizona.
Yes, for those joining us on KSRN, it is the greatest internet radio station on the web. Again, just go to www.ksrnaz.com. Got to drive around, stream it through your Bluetooth, and stay up to date in phenomenal Sun Devil Nation. But yes, let's get right to it. She is joining us now, and she's an alum. She's obviously an alum of ASU, but played water polo, has, like we said last year, the most international flavor of all the sports teams. I love it. Coach Pardi joining me now. Coach, thanks again so much for the time. I know Saturday was a little bit.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. I know Saturday was a little bit of a tough one, but man, and I said it last year. I mean, obviously it comes down to player, you understanding the game, but players executing, but man, another awesome winning season. And your schedule, I want to start with that right away, because I understand, like, and again, it's athletic competition. It should be hard, but man, the first like month and a half of your schedule, it was like ranked team, ranked team, ranked team, ranked team, overtime with a ranked team, overtime with another ranked team. Like when, and again, I know as competitors you love it, but when you see a schedule like that, or when the players see a schedule like that, what do you do to kind of keep them focusing on what they need to do and not be too worried? Because obviously you guys are being hunted too, but man, that is one hell of a schedule.
Yeah, we do play a hard schedule. I mean, we purposely put together a very hard schedule early in the season, because as soon as we get to conference, we play number 1, 2, 3, and 4 in conference, and you can't be ready for those matchups unless you've been through some really hard tournaments and some really hard games leading up to it. So it's all in preparation, and honestly, as we are building a program to be of a national championship caliber, we can't shy away from ranked opponents and very, very tough teams. It's a continuous build throughout the years and the seasons, but something that's very important to us to play a hard schedule.
Yeah, and I mean, it's phenomenal. But I got to hit this too, because last year, obviously, we talked. I mean, it was an Olympic year, and there were quite a few Sun Devils, obviously, in the Olympics, and obviously playing for their countries. And I know I talked to you say last year. I remember saying, "Oh, it's got to be awesome for you," but I didn't think about this, Coach. Like, who do you root for? Like, if they're playing against each other, is there really like a vested rooting interest?
I root for the Sun Devils to have an outstanding game, and I try to pick. I try to not pick any sides. Just enjoy the water polo, see my old athletes and my old teammate Maya Rykra be incredible and be at the top of their game, and I sit there being proud and cheer for all the Sun Devils equally.
I mean, that again, that's, because I'm sure the messages might be like, well, you were rooting for our team, right, Coach? And you're like, nope, I'm going to stay neutral here. Come on, guys. No, but, and last year, I mean, obviously the year that Lucia had was phenomenal. And Millie, I was just like at the game last week, she puts in 7 goals, and it's like against Indiana, but you always talk about having, like, obviously freshmen come in, but younger players. And at times, you're right, there are older teams. But man, it with someone like Millie, I mean, being next to seeing what she did last year, and I mean, I know topping her scoring output. When you see those players take that step and like being leaders, how do you feel that it helps your younger players come along? And I mean, again, they all just seem to have like the right, and I know you recruit the right attitude, but man, it's just you go from one, like, people like, wow, can they be like this good again? And yeah, it's just like business as usual.
I think we talk a lot about the pressure that it takes to be excellent and to stand out in such a strong conference as MPSF that is ours. And Millie watched Lutza go above and beyond, and to put the work in every single day to have that sustained excellence week after week after week. And now Millie is doing everything that Lutza did, if not more. She's like, I think we talked about this after the Indiana game, you and I, that Millie is the first one at every practice when we go to passing drills or shooting drills. She jumps out of the water, grabs her own weight belt, puts it on, and she keeps it on for as long as until we tell her, all right, now you should really take it off now. So she does all of this. And now the freshmen are seeing that she's doing this. So now no wonder that the next person that has, the personal internal drive to be as outstanding as Millie is, of course, they will follow and do the same thing. So part of it comes down to team culture, and part of it comes down to recruiting the right people that have this mindset. And the combination of both is what's making Millie be absolutely excellent this season.
Yeah, and I know I complimented you last season. Yeah, because I was gonna say that too, because you said after the match, like, she could be hurting, and it's like you'd never know. The trainers let you know. As an athlete, again, and I know we talked about this last year, especially in water polo. I mean, in all sports, you need to protect the athlete from themselves. But like I said, and people say, like, you talk about it like I'm like, guys, and like we talked about last year, my friends were like, yeah, I actually started paying. Some people were like, I was paying attention, and it's like, I don't see how a lot of that stuff isn't fouls. They like literally like keep their balance, but like beat the crap out of each other under the water. And I'm like, guys, I'm like, that's what I was saying. I'm like, and for you to say that though, like I said about Millie, and again, it goes like you said, seeing what teammates that come before you, what they do, and the work that it takes just in any sport. But man, like I said, 7 goals last week, and I was just like, huh. So we have Cal coming up next, and I know it is one game at a time, but Cal and USC coming up next. So very good opponents, obviously, and that's another thing I forgot to say to you that I thought about was like with the demise of the Pac-12 as it was, at least for water polo being in a different conference, there's still a lot of those rivalries there. So that I was very stoked about. But I mean, Cal and USC, like what, and obviously the team wants to win. I know to improve conference record and standings, but what is it about Cal and USC that makes them so tough?
They have incredible post-up players, so they're centers and they're perimeter players that have a good ability to go in and post up. They are loaded in that department. So a lot of their offense, actually, we're just sitting here scouting, all 3 of us coaches, before I jumped on with you. They run a lot of their balls through the center position, and they're really great at earning ejections, scoring goals out of center. So I think that presence in the center of their field, right, makes it very tough to play defense on them, because you always have to cheat back on the center. You have to play a zone from multiple positions on the perimeter. But then again, when you overcommit to the zone, then they have incredible shooters on the outside that can shoot over top of those blocks. So I think the number one focus for us going into these last 2 regular season games or conference games is really defense, and making sure we are shutting down as many of their offenses as possible.
And then from one of your players, Itzar Alameda, is from one of my most favorite cities in the world. I loved Barcelona. Barcelona will always be a phenomenal place to be. But
it's an amazing place.
Seeing her play, I mean, and again, getting to watch some games and then like live, but now, and even watching a lot of your earlier season games, like getting longer highlights. And me, for my Sun Devil show, I got to talk about you guys because A, you're awesome, but B, I'm like, I got to watch more of this. But when you see a freshman like come along like that, because and I know you told us last year that obviously a lot of them, they're coming over internationally, but I mean they've played at a pretty high level before coming over here anyway. But just to see the growth of her and like to fit into the team, and I'm sure she probably says she came from the greatest city in the world too, right?
Yeah, she does. Every day she reminds us of that. But yeah, like you said, she's a very smart player. She sees the game very well. She's always a couple steps ahead of what's developing or what's happening in the water. Earlier in the season, she took more of a delegating role and passing and assisting. But then as the season went on and she's grown a lot of her confidence, she's very smart with her shot selection. And now she is the one finishing a lot of our offenses. She has a really great way of faking out the defense and then quick switch wrist back around the blocker. She's a very well-rounded player. Her defense was lacking a lot at the beginning when she first showed up. And then we were like, well, the team needs you. You need to be in the water. You need to pass. You need to finish. You can't do that if you take your 3 ejections. So we've worked a lot with her on her defense, and she's come a very, very long way in that department too. I believe you're muted.
Yes, I was. I accidentally hit that. I was going to see, yeah, she's a good coach. She can read lips. No. But I was going to say, as a coach, like again, just seeing like the game come along and like I said, this like players come from all over and again, different styles. But I want to talk to you too about your freshman goalie. I mean, Miss Glad, she's done obviously a heck of a job. And again, some of those shots when they're just piercing and I see the blocks, I was like, yep, definitely don't want that one to hit you in the face. Definitely don't want that one to hit you. But no, like having been kicked in the soccer ball with the face a few times, Coach, I know how wonderful it would even feel. It would feel terrible in the water as well. But I mean, when you see, that from a goalie standpoint, and again, I know experience is huge, but man, to have a freshman back there again, getting the confidence, again, having the defense in front of her, getting that confidence. Man, I mean, I gotta think, obviously cliche, coach, but the sky's the limit for this one. But man, she's had a heck of a season.
Yeah, she's had an incredible season, and just going back to being a goalie, for a goalie, it's the greatest feeling in the world, being hit really hard by a shot, right? So it's their mentality is completely different than for everyone else. And yeah, like you said, Carrie is a very special goalie. Obviously, she's very young. She's even young for her age group. She's a young freshman, and now to be in this position to really carry the team throughout, the rest of the season that we have now that Sana is out after having a shoulder surgery. And she's coming along. She's stepping up a lot.
That was going to be my next question too. I was like, how's she doing? Because I know she's out. I had the surgery, but that's good. That's good.
Sana's doing great. Thankfully, she's in the process of recovery and getting stronger and getting better and getting back in the water. So she's doing well. And now Carrie's doing this, like by herself as a freshman. It takes a lot of maturity. It takes a lot of confidence. The confidence piece that we are working with her a lot on, because sometimes everybody else believes in her more than she believes in herself. So, but that, like she will shed that as the games go on and she finds success in each game. So very excited to have Carrie here, especially for, like the following 3 years after this.
I was just about to say, yeah, that's not bad. And I got to think now, she gets to play with her sister too, right?
That's right, Molly Glad. She's a transfer from USC. She graduated early from SC and transferred here. She has 2 more this year and then 1 more year of eligibility. And it was something very important for them and a dream of theirs to play together. And I'm very, very happy that Arizona State is the place where they could do that.
I 1,000,000% agree with you on that one. So how's the trash talking with the siblings? I mean, I know Molly's a defender, but I mean, does she talk trash? If her sister lets in a quote unquote, in her eyes, soft one, is there a little trash sibling talk there?
Immediately. I don't even have to say it because they're on each other's case immediately. I mean, it's hilarious just watching them chirp at each other. But yeah, definitely lots of trash talking between the two of them.
That's what I say. So again, and it's because yes, teammates and having played sports, like it does become family. But when it is a sibling, the tongue gets a little more lashed towards that person. And I'm sure it goes the other way too. If somebody's at a position a little bit on defense, I'm sure the tone in the voice is a little bit stricter towards Molly.
Very, very strict, and they're each other's biggest supporters, but also each other's biggest critiques at the same time. So it's all done out of love. Obviously, their love for each other is immeasurable, but they trash talk each other all the time.
I was gonna say, and the rest of the team probably just like we probably should just back up, let them have their moment.
Pretty much, yes.
I want to ask you this too, because obviously, I mean, the men's and the women's swim team win the Big 12 championship. Obviously, you guys are equal users of the Mona Plummer Aquatic Center, but just how cool is that? Like when they're in it, obviously going through their season and stuff, but just you guys see them a lot and stuff like that. But just how cool. I mean, obviously the men did it last year, but for the men and the women to like do it this year, I mean, how much fun was that for your team?
It's amazing. I mean, just walking to Mona Plummer, and right, it started with triathlon winning national champion, women's triathlon national championships 7 years in a row. And then men's swimming and diving doing it now 2 years in a row for a conference, and then winning NCAA as well last season. Now that expanding to the women's team and the men's team together, they each won a conference title. And just, like being in Mona Plummer is an incredible environment because every single team there and every single athlete, very driven, very dedicated. So there's nowhere else I'd rather be to be in that competitive environment.
Right. And I was going to say to you, I mean, literally it's kind of the easy one, a little cliche, but what has the like the crew put in the water over there? Because again, just breeding champions. So, but it is good juju and mojo. So you guys are definitely going to be next, coach.
Yeah, we are the ones dragging our feet in this department. We really have to get up to not be shunned out of Mona Plummer.
Oh, okay. I was not saying it that way, Sean. You guys have got.
I'm joking.
I know. Well, no, it's funny because when after when we got back from the Peach Bowl, I was sitting here. I was like, yeah. I go, it's really funny. I'm like, going back. I'm like flying back to the airport after the game, and I'm looking at my gate. I see the Sunday people with ASU stuff, and we're all kind of like excited because it was a phenomenal season, but bummed. And I go, and there's Coach. I go, and she had practice 2 days later at 7 a.m., but we're taking the 9 o'clock flight back to Phoenix.
That's right. That was an incredible 48 hours that at least my husband and I flew to Atlanta to watch the Peach Bowl and cheer on Kenny and the Sun Devils. And then coming back, we took the red eye back, and then the next morning we started preseason training. So, but I mean,
also your husband said he's like, hey, your husband's like, are you going to come out to 6 a.m. practice? I said, nope, man, I'm good. I like my sleep. I said, they're champs, and I'll always say phenomenal things about them. I go, but yes, if I ever had to do something, I'd get up and out there early. But I said, yeah, they're practicing. I'd just be getting in the way. I'm like, my sleeping is helping me at 6 a.m.
Yeah, I think my adrenaline from the Peach Bowl carried me through the first couple of days of off-season training, but no brainer that we wanted to be there for it.
You know, we started talking about. I mean, we kind of mentioned it last year, just kind of like, I mean, the energy that's kind of around campus. But I mean, you talk about football, and obviously what Coach Van Neal did with volleyball this year again. I mean, last year go to the Sweet 16. In the tournament, you know, third in the Pac-12. This year, win the Big 12 in your first year in it. But to that point too, and obviously, like, you know, Coach Powers in hockey, and even, you know, Graham in soccer. I mean, like this, the energy that like goes on. But when there's success in a department, like just like you said, I mean, you're right there with swimming. We talked about that, but just to see the overall success and just the interaction of the coaches. I mean, how much has that grown since you've been here, and just how awesome is that, the electricity just in general?
It's like you said, it's amazing. The coaches group chat is popping every single weekend, multiple times the weekend, keeping tabs on each other. I mean, Missy and women's golf winning their home tournament this weekend. Kristen with beach volleyball having a 4-0 weekend. Taryn with lacrosse getting their first Big 12 conference win this weekend. And you know, like, we all go to each other's games and we all cheer each other on. But on a day-to-day basis, I mean, Taryn with lacrosse, her office is very close to mine. And then every week when we know each other's rankings are coming out, we are like going over to each other's office and high-fiving and hugging. And it's like, it's really, 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 truly electric in this department and around Sun Devil Athletics. And we live it every day. And it's amazing.
Yeah, because I said that to Coach Powers. I finally got it. I mean, he's very busy. I say finally because I'm stoked. I had Coach Powers on the show right before they took on Minnesota Duluth and won that, you know, the quarterfinal series here. But he's just like, yeah, you know, we use football as a great recruiting tool, all sports, because, you know, we can go to their games and they see that. But like, you know, Coach Bloomquist talked about, you know, hey, I'm getting a kid from Minnesota. He's a big hockey fan. Well, guess what game I'm taking him to? We're going over to Mullet Arena just to, you know, see that. And I love, like I said, I mean, I get it. You're all busy with your sports, but the fact that, like, again, and what Graham has done too. I mean, having Graham Orsini on the show twice, like, just kind of, he's like, hey, they're good coaches. It's just kind of that family atmosphere. And I was out at golf all weekend, so I mean, it was awesome. And plus, now Patience and Beth are headed to Augusta because they qualified. Yeah. So they're going to play amateur in the mat. It's just like, I talked to like Coach K yesterday. It's just, I mean, like I said, it is a Homer show, and yes, it's not all rainbows and unicorns, but at the same time, like, it is just awesome when I see like you guys together. When Coach Miller got hired, I mean, quite a few coaches came out to that. I mean, the golf team was already out in Papago, but I mean, it's just, man, like I said, it's awesome. And no, you are not dragging your feet. You're not allowed to say that. You guys are awesome. You play some very tough competition. Like I said,
it's called building. We're building there.
Exactly. You have done a heck of a job. So, all right. So Cal this Saturday, USC next Saturday. And then, okay, that's what I wanted to ask you too, because lastly is so with the postseason tournament, so where are you guys slotted right now, and where could you be slotted?
I believe so. Before our San Jose fiasco, we were trending to be 5 in the conference. We'll see what happens because San Jose and Indiana, they still haven't played each other. So a lot of where we end up ranking depends on that. But for me, the goal doesn't change. The outcome, like we're still in charge of, you know, like what happens. in the sense that Friday you need to win, Saturday you need to win, and then Sunday you need to win. That's going to be the goal. No matter who we get, paired with for opponents, we're coming for wins, and that doesn't change.
In water polo, because I mean, in all sports, people say, oh, you play somebody, a second or third time. Obviously, I mean, you played Indiana, it didn't count as it wasn't a conference game, but you played them earlier, beat them twice. But when you're playing somebody, like you said, if you see like a second, or maybe even if you were to see him a third time, what's the biggest challenge in that, like water polo wise? Because again, if something was successful the first time against you, I got to think, okay, we're going to shut this down and we're going to make them adjust some other way. So what's the biggest challenge? Because in water polo, to me, it just seems, and maybe it's not, but it seems a little bit tougher.
For just using Indiana as an example, I think when we see each other for the third time this season, it's going to come down to both teams know everything that there is to know about the opponent and each of the matchups and every single player. So who's going to be sharper that day? Who's going to execute better that day? That's what it will come down to. But thankfully we beat them twice so far. They're the ones who are probably going to try to make some adjustments. We need to stick to the game plan that we had that worked for us and be flexible to adapt as the game goes on, should they come up with something we haven't seen before.
Yeah, because like I said, I know it's in any sport, and like I always hear coach say, you're not going to outcoach yourself. Like you can't overcoach. Like you're going to do what you do, and try and shut them down or force what you want to do. But Coach, thank you so much again for taking the time, and tell Molly and Carrie, to keep it on at least keep it on a 5. Let's just keep it at a 5 with a sibling antagonist role.
They make me laugh every day, so I don't mind it.
That's awesome. But Coach, hey, no, seriously, thank you again so much for taking the time. And I will, like I said, I don't know. I would love to come out to SC. I don't know if it will happen. I have to see. But either way, I'll be watching because you guys rock. And I always appreciate you as an alum. Oh, I forgot. Oh, wait, hold on. There's one more thing I have to play for you because I always play it for all. I started doing it this year for the alum coaches. So this is for alum coaches because you guys, but alum are the greatest.
I'm from Arizona, Jerry. I broke Arizona records.
Rod.
I went to Arizona State.
Rod.
I'm a Sun Devil, man.
Yep, I played it. Yep, I got to do it for all the alum coaches. So you guys, again, it's a bigger fraternity, which is awesome. But again, I love all the coaches. But the fact that we're all alum, it's awesome. So thank you again so much for the time. And let's go up on Cal.
We're on it. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Coach. That is so awesome. Again, water. If you guys haven't been out to Mona Palmer, you can just like championships, from like she said, men's swimming and now women getting in and just, it's awesome. And water polo, phenomenal. So we're gonna step aside when we get back, guys. Defensive coordinator Brian Ward is joining us. So again, we go from Coach Pardi to Coach Ward. It is awesome. It rolls on, and we will have more Pitchfork Lunch right after this.
KSRN has an inside track on all things sports, with topics and opinions from former players and local personalities. Catch 15-year NFL veteran Ed Smith and Jay Adams on Easy Sports Talk every Saturday.
Unfortunately, with this back and these knees, I don't quite have that ability, or at least I use it.
For all things Arizona Cardinals, tune in Monday nights with Casual E and Sean McConnell.
Bird Gang, I know it was another tough loss, but keep encouraged. We miss you, BA.
And now you can exclusively listen to former Arizona Cardinal Jeremy Bridges on his show, JB and Benny Blue Review.
Exactly.
Don't be dumb.
Sending a message out to the world.
Always relaying that message. Don't be dumb.
Yes, your guy, Benny Blue, comedian extraordinaire.
Exclusively on KSRN. Casual Sports Radio Network.
This is the sound of a racing heart. It's beating a little faster because it belongs to a young child. But this child isn't in the middle of a close soccer game or playing with her puppy in the yard. Her heart is racing because she's just been told she has to move foster homes again. Change a child's story. There's a child waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at casaforchildren.org.
Got a big painting project you've been putting off because you don't think you can afford it? Well, it's time to call the team at Customer First Solutions. Customer First is your one-stop shop for all home repairs, from full interior and exterior painting to handyman services, drywall repair, electrical, and plumbing. Customer First has the most competitive prices in the Valley. Your flat rate quote is based on the square footage of your home, and that includes wall repair. All Customer First technicians are licensed, bonded, and fully background checked for your assurance. Call or text Customer First Solutions at 480-877-0255 for your free quote. Customer First Solutions, where our customers and their homes are our first priority.
You are listening to the best internet radio station on the web, KSRN, Arizona.
All right, everybody, welcome back here to Pitchfork Lunch. Yes, I am Michael Carrot. You know that it is Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend, and we are rolling on here. Yes, I told you before the break, we are going to get to talk to this guy, his coach. He's always so generous with his time, as he's a very busy man in the season, obviously, once spring ball starts, and even in the offseason, because there is no offseason. But Sun Devil defensive coordinator, a man that definitely earned the extension he got last year, and we're happy he's still in Sun Devil country. Brian Ward joining me. Coach, man, thanks so much for the time. Again, obviously, I know spring ball obviously just started up again. The fun is there. Hopefully, you said something when all the assistants were talking that Texas game will never really get out of your system, but hopefully what these guys, the players have energized you, the defense, to where that taste is out of your mouth and it's just onward and upward, Coach.
Yeah, it's great to get back out there, and with so many familiar faces and guys that I've been able to work with and see their development, and and really be in big games with and win some big games with. We're able to get out there and really hit the ground running.
And when and talking about that, because I talked to I'll start there. I mean, I talked to Montana the other day, and like I said to you before, I know it's not easy, but like you said, seeing the faces and the comfort level, but having guys back like that and having the depth, and then even the young guys you develop, but for somebody like Montana as well, how great is it for you, like I said, to have them back? But does it free you up more in defensive calling? Because I mean, at all three levels, there's a lot of guys that are very used to you and what you guys want to do on defense.
Yeah, the volume of what we do on defense is never really going to increase. So we just find, and I was talking to Miles Rouser about this yesterday, is we find different ways to be the same. And I know, and that's really loaded just saying that, but like from a week to week standpoint, and what people don't understand, even in spring ball, if you get to a point where you feel like you're playing championship caliber you're getting to be a championship caliber program, and you have high aspirations for your team, you practice like a championship caliber program. And when you're at that level, you're not just worried about installing and worried about just getting your standards and your fundamentals and your protocols laid out in concrete so you can start to move forward. I mean, we already have those things. So, and being in your third year with no transition on our coaching staff, with very little transition in terms of, our D-line room, our linebacker room, and our safety room. We're still trying to, develop our younger guys, but you're able to start now getting into the weeds of why you do certain things, and have guys really not just learn it, but know it. And there's a difference between learning and knowing. And we're really trying to challenge those guys that have been where, that have been in this program, that have been through, a couple spring installs and maybe even 2 seasons, and all the position meetings and all the walkthroughs that we've been through the last 2 years, being in this third year, you're really able to get into the weeds of why you're doing what you're doing, which hopefully adds, leads to us playing a half a step faster in certain situations. So, the challenge is we still are making it's still a very challenging environment where guys can't get comfortable. But we're going to force our guys to make a commitment to taking just another step and learning what we do on an even more efficient and faster level.
Yeah, and speaking of that, obviously, like you said, getting a lot of guys back, and I mean, obviously, Xavion and also Miles. But when you look at a guy like, I mean, Shamari, all that he was last year, I was kind of teasing Montana too. I said, I saw you took that number. Did Shamari tell you that comes with having to lay some very big hits on opponents? And he just smiled. But when you look at that, I mean, somebody like a Shamari. For the fans out there, I mean, like I said, I know we're only 2-3 practices into spring, but who are some of the guys you look to see competing that nickel?
Well, I mean, we just, again, you have certain standards set with that positions, and the reality is we're going to go into our third year, and it's going to be the one position on defense that will have its third different starter at that position. So, and there's no other position on defense. So, that's the onus, is to be able to develop that position, and try to really just, the standard's been set by the way Shamari played that position this past year and how physical he made it. And he really forced teams to rethink a lot of their screen game, a lot of their perimeter game, because of how he showed up. So the standard's been set, and I do feel why you can't replace a guy like Shamari Simmons. You can't just have a guy just go fill his shoes. Whoever takes that position is going to put their own identity on that position, because we will move forward, and I feel like we have enough depth in that safety position that we're going to have that. We're going to find that force, in that room.
And when you mentioned the young guys too. I mean, I think of a guy like Chris Johnson II, who came out for spring, graduated early, was in spring ball last year, and you could just see like his growth. A guy like Plaz Johnson, a local guy. But for, like with those two and some of the other young guys, like I said, because people ask me like, yeah, well, we're excited about who's coming back, but what's up? Who are some of these young guys? So I mean, talk about the growth of Chris and Plaz, and I mean just the other younger guys on defense as well.
Well, the thing is Chris, from a football IQ level, him, getting last spring under his belt playing corner, having last fall under his belt playing mostly at corner, but we started to move him over late in the season into the safety room. And the beauty of it, he's going into his, third install of this defense. He went through the first spring, and then he went through the fall, and now he's going through this spring. It's just a matter of time before he learns all the ins and outs of that position. Matter of fact, I'm about ready to meet with him here in about 20 minutes, after I get off the phone with you. So, I mean, he's a guy that he knows what it takes. And, I always talk about guys act like starters before they become starters.
Yep.
And, Chris is one of those guys. Like he's on time, he's dependable, he puts the work in, and he gets the process of becoming a starter at this level, and it's just a matter of time before that does happen. Plas, is an incredibly talented guy, but he wasn't here with us last spring, so everything was brand new for him last fall. So he's going through his second install. What I'm most excited about is you see the ability, you see the athletic ability, but playing corner or playing a certain positions in high school, maybe there isn't as much detail, or because you're not going to have, you don't have the time to put into it. And the sooner that that he becomes and starts acting like a starter, he's going to become a starter, because we don't have anybody that has more ability than him. And he's a guy that wants it too. I mean, there's no better competitor in our program. So again, both those guys, they're still like going through the process of learning the process, understanding the language that we speak on defense, and knowing what to do and how to do it. They're not quite at the why we do certain things, but when those guys get to that point where they know what to do and how to do it, they're going to be special players. And then when we get to why, you're talking about guys that there's no limit to their potential.
Speaking of why, Coach, I know I asked you this last year. Are people going to still just keep trying to keep picking on Keith for fun and getting shut down? I'm just curious how you feel about that. I know how he felt about that.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. It's just, I think that's less of a product of picking on Keith as it's more of a product on just the style of defense that we play. And, you know, when teams take shots, they're going to have to take shots, you know, with a lot of outside vertical routes because Xavier Alford does, you know, in our free safety position does just a great job of shutting down the middle of the field. And very few teams feel like they have the ability to take those shots in the middle of the field. So our corner position is going to have those shots on the sidelines. I mean, all day, and that's just a product of what we do on defense. And Keith is he's a great competitor, and he's gonna, you know, he wants those opportunities to make those plays.
Yeah, no, I say it in jest because last year I said to him, I go, man, everything's coming your way. And everybody was like, and even CJ said to me when I was talking to him, he goes, I don't understand why they're still throwing at him. He goes, I really don't, but let them keep throwing over there. But speaking of that, like last year when we talked before, you know, fall camp, after spring ball, but before fall camp, like, you know, we talked about the talent you had at linebacker. And last year, you know, people saw like, okay, we there is talent there. Saw the guys that came in through the portal and just what they had worked in a guy like Caleb McCullough who had stayed here and done the work. They were the question. And since they got the first touchdown of the season last year, and I mean, they answered the questions every week, but just their growth at linebacker and the guys you have coming back. I mean, outside of being, you know, cliche and saying the sky's the limit, but I mean, what really is the ceiling for these guys?
You know, I mean, the biggest thing is, and I appreciate your question, Mike, but this is going to be my theme from now until our first game to our third game to our 10th game to wherever and beyond. We're just worried about running our cover 3 right and getting aligned right. You know what I mean? And the only thing that matters is really the next rep, the next practice, the next game, and really right now, you know, we're going to have a gauge on what our potential is once we get to the end of the spring, and then once we get to the end of the fall, because every season it's a new team. And you know, there's a new mentality, there's a new, I mean, and you know I don't care what anybody says, there's not a lot that separates people at this level. I know people talk about, well, there's the blue blood programs and this and that and this, you know, it doesn't really matter. What's cool about football is and why I think it's the greatest sport there is because if you get 11 guys all working together and that believe and that can handle adversity and that can continue to focus on the process of getting better, like there's really no limit to what they can accomplish. I mean, it really is, I think, the greatest team sport there is, because while there may be individual talent and individual players that maybe are a step faster or a step bigger or a step longer or taller or you know, more explosive or whatever than one guy or another guy, that can be mitigated and that can be beaten by someone who's more focused, that can block out distractions, that the guy that lines up to him is more focused on technique than just winning. He's more focused on the process of what he has to do, you know, throughout the you know, the process and development of a play. You know what I mean? So there's so much that goes into football, and you know, I mean, and a lot of things that you have a hard time controlling, you know, the health of your team and all those things. So right now, I know it's not the answer everybody wants, but and it's not going to get anybody really excited, but we're just worried about getting lined up in our cover 6 and worried about getting our pass drops and becoming better pass rushing team, a better run stopping team, a better you know, I mean, like there's things that we got to get better at, and we got to have less penalties. You know what I mean? Like we can't have all the penalties that we had last year. That was the most penalized defense I've ever coached. We got to get better on third down. We got to get better in the red zone. And you know, if we're just 6 plays better on third down, and 2 drives better in the red zone, and we give up, you know, a half a less penalty, 6 less penalties what kind of impact does that have on our season? You know what I mean? What kind of impact does that have on statistically and all those things. So we're going to be as good as we want to be, and we control that. And I guess that would be the biggest thing. Is it's not about anything outside. It's not about who we play this year. It's really going to be about how good we want to be, and focusing on doing that and focusing on that process every day.
Yeah, and I'm glad you addressed the penalties, because I would have felt bad asking, even though I'm always fair, because I would have said, "How did you feel about that?" But you addressed it. So again, it is part of the game. When you talk about blocking stuff out, a little bit lighter one right now, and Coach Dillingham told us his reason for it. But how sick of you are We Are the Champions playing in practice? I know you're focused on what you do, but you've got to be able to hear it.
I don't know if I ever cared to listen to another Queen song again in my whole life. I mean, it's only been 1 week of that, but holy cow. It's it's when we were at Syracuse, we had an opening song to practice, and it used to be one of my favorite songs ever. It was golly, it was I don't know, it was that British guy, Return of the Mac. I can't think of it. Who sings that song, but we'd open up practice, and I literally, even to this day, it's been 7 years since I've been at Syracuse, or 6 years, and I don't can't listen to the song anymore. I just can't. I'm done. I'm done. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, Montana said he never liked it, and then he said how he truly will never like that song. And
I actually could listen to it. I could listen to it. You know what I mean? I wasn't like something that I'd actually play on my, I guess, on my on my iTunes or anything like that. But now I could care less if I ever hear it again.
Yeah, Coach said, because we're looking at each other walking around the field like, this is not Coach's MO, because his usually first thing is nobody cares. I'm like, well, people care, but we get it. You got to move on. It's a new team, and it's one of those things. But yeah, I thought it was just day one, because even Sam said that he got the point and he hopes he never has to hear it, and it was out there again. But hey, you know what? Coach wants to do it, whatever. If you become numb to it and you're still working hard, nobody's getting laxed. That's 100%. The awesome part. You mentioned the schedule, Coach, and I had asked Coach Dillingham this a few weeks ago, but I mean, the obviously with the bigger conferences, not everybody's going to play everybody, but only having, and you're right. I mean, you're trying to force what you're doing onto them, but only having 4 teams that you played last year. What's the fun in that and the challenge in that? Because conference-wise, only seeing 4 of those teams again. But what's kind of the fun in that and challenge in that, and just the obstacle? Because even before, I mean, in the Pac-12, like, you knew who you were going to see. You kind of had, and even if a new coaching staff came in, I get that's different. But I guess what's the fun and the challenge in that? Only having 4 teams that you played from last year that you're going to be taking on this year.
It's an interesting question. I mean, it is. I mean, it's just going to present new challenges, and I think it actually adds to the sense of urgency that we're going to have, as a team. You know, I mean, I know as on defense, I mean, I'm anxious to get on the film and start preseason planning, for some of these new coordinators that I haven't gone against. Again, West Virginia, I have never gone against that guy. Colorado's new offensive coordinator, I haven't called plays against him. Utah is a new offensive coordinator. I haven't called plays against him. Northern Arizona, Texas State has a new offensive coordinator. TCU, I've called plays against Browse before. I guess Texas Tech called plays against him. Baylor's offensive coordinator called against, that dude. And so, like, it always presents a new set of challenges because you don't really know their personality. And a guy like, like Bryles at TCU, like, it's been, I think, 6 or 7, years since we've called it against each other. So, I guess I'd have to, I'm going to have to relook at that film to see what he's doing different, how he's evolved as a coordinator. And because no matter if you play the same guy every year, it's going to present new challenges because there's good and bad to that. So usually if I play a coordinator or coach against a coordinator that I've coached against, and I think it's kind of the same thing. I think there's 6 of them that I've never called, defense against next year. So they're going to present a whole new set of challenges, for me. And trying to get in their heads and kind of get their personality of calling offense. So yeah, so I mean it's no different for our players. I mean, they're going to be lining up against guys they've never lined up before. So the unknown, there's some brings a lot of uncertainty as well.
And when you talk about that, because when looking at the schedule, I noticed, I mean, 2 years ago, you guys had 8 home games, which was phenomenal. And last year, there was a few back-to-back road games. This year, no back-to-back road games, Coach, and actually a back-to-back home mixed in there. So I know from a fan standpoint, the electricity here, obviously very exciting. When you look at, the landscape and everything, and I know, and I had asked Coach Iguano, and I didn't think he was whining, but Matt Rule kind of was saying, why should I have a spring game when guys came in and poached, like players and this and that? Like, why should I don't want to have a spring game? And Deion Sanders,
I lost you. I can't hear you. I don't know what's going on.
Oh boy. Okay, hold on 1 second, Coach. See if this works. All right. Can you hear me now? Oh man.
Oh, I got you now. Got you.
Oh, you got it. Okay, you got it.
Go
Perfect.
ahead.
No, I was saying, I asked Coach Iguano about like Matt Rule's presser a few weeks ago, saying like, he really wants to not have a spring game because, and he's saying not that I haven't taken guys at the transfer portal, but I haven't really watched spring game, and then I get 6-7 guys plucked. And I said to Coach Iguano, I go, could you see, more coaches going to that, like maybe not wanting to have a quote unquote spring game, just have more kind of like drills and little things like that. And then you have Deion Sanders come out and say, I want to play somebody else in a spring game. Let them watch. Like, I want them to do that. But I mean, where do you kind of say, because I didn't think, and I asked Coach Iguano this, and I said the same thing, Coach, I didn't think that Matt Rule was whining. I just think he brings up he brings up a valid point in this day and age. But I mean, where do you kind of see that? Because I mean, from Coach Rule saying like not really a spring game to Deion saying, I want to play another team and showcase what I have, and they can showcase what they have. Where do you kind of stand on that?
I mean, it's one of those things. I haven't put a lot of time into it. I haven't put a lot of thought into it because I know, Kenny does a good job of handling kind of those ins and outs and those details. So, I would tell you, I think it would be. I don't know. I mean, for those teams that do that, and we know that there's teams that just have recruiting departments looking to poach other staffs, and some people operate like that. And I guess I'd be against more of a televised spring game type thing. I guess I would be against those type of things, just because there are those programs that operate like that. Um, again, I haven't put enough time or thought into it. Like, I mean, if I was a head coach, I'd probably put a lot more time and thought into that. But I know those are the things that our head coach spends more time and energy thinking about. And he does a great job, a phenomenal job. I'd argue probably, the best job I've ever been around in terms of those type of things. So, and he leaves the other stuff to me. I know I got my hands full on defense, so I'm just worried about doing my job the best I can, and I try not to have an opinion on the things that I really don't have an impact on.
Yeah, Coach Iguano kind of went down that same road, but yes, no. It's an interesting point in this day and age. All right, so I got to ask these last few. I mean, we get to the obviously the X's and O's, and we'll get through the spring. But how was your quote unquote off season? How's the fam?
It was great. It's been outstanding. I spent a lot of time with with my wife and my kids, and got a chance to see some friends and people that I've known for a long time. So it's been good, but it's just great. Coming to work every day, just here at Mountain America. It's a blessing. It's a dream come true, and I thank God every day for it.
Yeah, I was talking to again our good friend Coach Kersing, and he just reiterated I don't know if proud's the word, but I'm so proud of how you guys. He said you guys as a staff and like everything, and cloud hanging over or not, coaches just have to coach when you come in, and you got to start putting players out there. And You know, he as a former Gaucho and a Hall of Famer, you know, and obviously you were a Phoenix College there, a Gaucho coach, and like you said, Coach Coop always told me to call you a Gaucho, but you're the defensive coordinator. So, I mean,
That's right. I don't know if some of my PC Bears buddies and former coaches take issue with that. So I'm proud to say that I spent 2 years with each program. So I'm proud to say it.
No, it was absolutely awesome. But Coach, man, thanks again so much for taking the time. I know we got the rest of spring to get through. And I was saying to Coach Coop, you know, again, it's not putting you on the spot because I know scheduled things don't work, but maybe up at Camp T, we could have like a three-piece sit down up in the nice woods where it's nice and cool out. In the, you know, when it's only when it's 110 here, at least it's only 85 up there.
And all we have is time up there too. We have time to kill.
That's how Coach wants it. Hey, Coach Ward, thank you so much again for doing this. Guys, we're going to step aside and we shall have more Pitchfork Lunch coming right up.
Okay.
KSRN has an inside track on all things sports, with topics and opinions from former players and local personalities. Catch 15-year NFL veteran Ed Smith and Jay Adams on Easy Sports Talk every Saturday.
Unfortunately, with this back and these knees, I don't quite have that ability, or at least I use it.
For all things Arizona Cardinals, tune in Monday nights with Casual E and Sean Connery.
Bird gang, I know it's another tough loss, but keep encouraged. We miss you, BA.
And now you can exclusively listen to former Arizona Cardinal Jeremy Bridges on his show, JB and Benny Blue Review.
Exactly.
Don't be dumb.
Sending a message out to the world.
Always relay that message. Don't be dumb.
Yes, your guy, Benny Blue, comedian extraordinaire.
Exclusively on KSRN, Casual Sports Radio Network.
All right. Yes, that is going to do it. A lot from Coach Ford there. Again, always great to catch up with the defensive coordinator of your Arizona State Sun Devils, Brian Ward. Again, phenomenal job in the defense. I know, guys. I know. Yes, offense is very important. I love our offense. I just, you know, the defensive side of the ball has always been more partial to. But nonetheless, that is going to do it for today. We're going to hit golf tomorrow. Again, shout out to Missy Farquet and the Sun Devil women's golf team as they take the 2025 ASU Ping Invitational out at Papago. Beautiful, beautiful weather all weekend, except for the gusts, the consistent wind on a Friday and Saturday. None really yesterday. So, but yeah, phenomenal. So Forks up to the ladies as they take that, and Patience Rhodes and Beth Coulter headed out to Augusta. Going to be absolutely awesome. But we'll hear from Patience tomorrow. I got to sit down with them after. So again, you'll get to see that. I sit down with Patience Road and Isla McDonald O'Brien. I got to sit down with her. She was the freshman of the tournament, and yeah, you'll hear it. We'll attack that tomorrow. But yeah, also with water polo, big shout out to Coach Petra Pardi for coming on. And like I said, again, bumping into her at the her and her husband at the coming back from the Peach Bowl in the airport there in Atlanta. So, but yeah, they have two big games coming up. So obviously, I want that seeding for the conference tournament. So that being said, but yeah, shout out to Coach Party for that, and Coach Ward. Obviously, man, it's all here for you on Pitchfork Lunch. So I'm gonna get out of here. I will see you guys tomorrow. Same bad time, same bad channel. And yes, like women's volleyball tells us, they actually played U of A over the weekend in a closed match. But But yeah, I'll find out what maybe you can find out some details of what went down there. But yes, like they always reminded us, the reigning Big 12 champs, hashtag our state. And yes, you guys know it. I will see you tomorrow. But as always, Forks out.
I went to Arizona State. Right. I'm a Sun Devil, man.
The 27-yard line. That's a great call, too. Play fake. The Polo will put it up. Throws over the middle. Touchdown. Quick flag.
That's away. Trying to center off with Eckerly, and he just missed the net. O'Reilly with the shot. Far down. He scored.
From behind for a month. Now with the lead, they're getting a little wobbly. Philadelphia, they won't get him. Wow.
Edwards pulls off and buries a flag.
Shot for